Hi, I'm Tarryn. I'm an alcoholic.
Tarryn.
Thank you so much for cheering for me. It's really special. And thank you for you guys coming and making this meeting possible. It's like sitting with family, really. It's so cool to see all of you, and I missed you guys. Thank you to my higher power for another day clean, sober. And another day above ground. God clearly doesn't want me up there yet. Please excuse my voice. I was in an accident almost 2 months ago and shattered my neck. So it's a bit challenging to speak because I cut my voice box in half. But God is speaking through me, and it's not about me. It's difficult for my ego because I'm being humble today because I sound really weird. But it's not about me, it's about the message, really. So it doesn't get any easier. Sharing my story, exposing myself, but that's what we do in this program, and if I don't keep on breaking my ego, that will break me. So let's start from the beginning. I grew up and I had a lovely family. I had everything I wanted. I had a very close family. We moved from place to place. I grew up first on an Air Force base in Donato, and then we moved to Joburg. We had my little brother, who is 3 years younger than me. We got on really well. We had another little brother. I like to mention this in my story because this is a pinpoint of where I found my first character defect. This is where I lost my first brother to a tragic accident where he drowned. And my step one, when I went back, I saw how I buried my feelings, without alcohol, substance, or anything. From the age of 7, I learned my first character defect. And that was to not cry and not to show emotion, because during that whole process, it was quite traumatic. I mean, I found him in the pool with my dad, and I didn't cry. I was in so much shock. And then I was rewarded for not crying and being brave. And that I kept with me. I would cry, and when everything was over, I go into a room and I cry and let out my feelings there. I was never vulnerable with anyone. And I was taught to be like a titanium soldier since that age. I've even got a tattoo, "Cowgirls Don't Cry." But anyway, as I went through school, I was pretty much on my own mission, hey? I felt different from everyone else. I felt like I wanted to fit in, but I didn't really want to. I was introverted, extrovert, extroverted, introvert. I'd always ask my teacher for my own desk because I didn't want to share with anyone. At break time, sometimes I sat by myself because I just didn't want to be around people. And then when I wanted to fit in, eventually, back in those days, it was all about wearing the clothing, having the X, Y, and Z. And eventually I got into that whole cycle of trying to fit in. It was all about appearance. It was all about ticking boxes and societal expectations, really. And I tried my best, and it put a lot of pressure on me. It made me grumpy and short and edgy with other people because I was so concerned about the way people perceived me, and how I was perceived by people, and if I was to wear the correct clothes or have the boyfriend or, walk the right way and the trends. And it was a lot of pressure for me as a teenager. And I think age 14 I had a bit of a meltdown because I had puberty with this pressure and all this stuff. And that's where I did see psychologists throughout my journey, but that's where 14 I took my first antidepressants, and I started from there. That was my journey with prescription medication. And then I got to high school, and it got even worse because rebellion. I was a rebel, like all I don't like to emphasize too much on war stories because I've got a lot to say about recovery, but I tried to replicate jackass stunts, and my brother pushed me down the driveway in one of those bins and I went rolling, and it was so funny how Tarryn could pull off a stunt, and then that led into Tarryn stealing drinks at functions. My dad did air shows, he's a pilot. There were those, back in the day, those tubs of like beer, and I used to sneak one beer, and oh Tarryn, you're so cool, you stole the beer, and I was like, oh, look at me drinking. And I kind of followed that because that gave me, that meant I thought I was accepted because people were like, oh. And eventually, people weren't laughing with me, they were laughing at me because I caused a lot of havoc. I put my parents through a lot of, I didn't know what I was doing to them by trying to keep up this, stunt double facade thing. And at parties also, Tarryn had the stuff, and go talk to her. She'll sort you out, she'll get you what you want. I was a cardboard gangster actually, because really, who was I kidding? And then when I got out of school, I loved cooking, so I saw how the chef's lifestyle was, and it kind of was quite cool because I didn't have to take responsibility. I could swear, I could drink, because that's what chefs do, really. And Anthony Bourdain, great example, but unfortunately he didn't make it. But yeah, like throughout my life, I've had my abuse with alcohol and drugs took me to some very dark places. And every time I had a car accident or a consequence or something happened, my dad would just come pick up the pieces, and bless his heart, he didn't know that he was enabling me, but there was no consequences for me. So I cruised through without, I would crash a car and then say to my dad, so when I'm getting a car, hey, not sorry to put you through this, let me be responsible, let me try to pay off the excess fee. That was not me. I was entitled, I was demanding, I was, arrogant, and I was shown all of this in my step one, and I was, it broke me, hey, because I thought, shit, if I had a daughter like this, I'd slap her into her next life, And then when I got into the world of chefing, I discovered, in school, my share is not very structured. I jump around, so that's the way my mind is. Throughout school, I dated guys because it was a thing to do. And then when I came out of school, I started chef school, and I started my journey with women, and I realized that I was actually not straight. And the alcohol was my higher power, and then turned to relationships. And I only figured this out when I did my steps on relationships, and I figured out how powerful they are because they're mind and mood altering, and that took me on another journey where I did geographicals running after relationships, and it led me to a lot of pain because the one time I moved all the way to Eastern Cape for my partner, and I got there, I moved my whole life, and she'd been cheating on me. And I was like, okay, so now what do I do? And it's funny because in the middle of the bush, I wouldn't expect to find my debaucherous behavior, because I thought it was Durban. I blame Durban a lot because it's the party town, it's the holiday town, and I'm reckless in Durban. When I'm in Durban, I'm reckless. So I am going to move to the Eastern Cape, in the middle of the bush, so I don't be reckless. But when I packed my bags, I packed me. I didn't see, but me was there. I took me with me. And so that relationship went south, and I fixed on work. And sooner or later, a week later, because I always used to present this facade, my name is Tarryn. I drink on occasions. I don't smoke that much. I used to be squeaky clean. I shot rainbows. But give me a week, give me a month, it unravels. I find the guys after work, we're having drinks, find my drug of choice, I find the clubs, I travelled to Grahamstown, Kenton-on-Sea, Port Alfred, PE, I was jamming it up. I had people in every town, and my disease just manifested, and I was like, oh, maybe Eastern Cape's bad for me, so I need to move to Sabi Sands because there's less clubs and there's less access. So I went there. Yeah, another thing, living in the bush, working there with guys and ladies, they like to smoke the stuff, they like to jewel. So my disease had a right old time there. And yeah, so I thought, you know what, let me do something. I need to get a partner that I want to settle down with. You know, white picket fence, and then I can't misbehave. So let me try that. So I got a fiance, I moved to Centurion. I was good for 6 months. I tried to control my drinking. And I realized when I control my drinking is actually controlling me. And yeah, like stuff happened and I lost that relationship. And in the beginning, let me just jump back. I've been to 3 different centers in my journey. The first one was when I was 19 years old. And that's when I lost my the first girl that I had a proper relationship with. She died in a car accident, and then I just tasted the bottle. I drank every day, 10 o'clock hours off my face. I was a mess. My dad picked me up off the beachfront and took me to a centre in Durban, and I jawed it up there. I didn't take it seriously, found another girlfriend there, came out, a week later I was at the Durban July, you know what happens there. So I didn't really take it seriously, I didn't have enough pain, and let's just fast forward again. I got into so much pain after my last relationship in Centurion that I decided it was enough. I tried to take myself out. I got in my car. Actually, I passed out in a McDonald's parking lot from drinking, and I woke up the next day and I was furious with myself, and I just wanted enough. The alcohol wasn't working, substances that I was taking wasn't working, so I got in my car, and it was rush hour, so I knew that there was a busy highway after the suburban roads, and I put my foot flat and I just sped. And yeah, this Mercedes came through and it knocked me through someone's concrete garden wall, and my car went to the side and I split my head open here, up to here, and I had 13 staples. They stapled my head back together, and that's the first time I broke my neck. Because of the whiplash, my head went back. I broke C6 and 7. I broke 4 ribs, 1 punched my lung, filled up with blood. And I heard a knock on my window. It was the Afrikaans lady who thought I was dead. And God was like, no, you're gonna endure this pain and you're gonna learn from it. And did I learn from that? No. I went to hospital. I was in ICU for a week. Got out. Luckily enough, my work let me keep my job, and yeah, I drank on Schedule 5 drugs. I was on painkillers. That was 5 years ago. My friend said to me, Tarryn, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm Scottish. This is what we do. Scottish people drink. It's, I'm in pain, but this helps more than my painkillers. And I thought I was a smart ass. And I didn't hear what my friends were saying. And they tried to 12-step me and stuff. I wasn't having any of it. Until I moved eventually back to Durban because nothing was working in Centurion. And I tried to pick myself up again, got a job. Didn't last long. I found my drug of choice, which was the one that you put up your nose. I put a lot of things up my nose. I've sold my horse, put that money up there. I was on a rampage. And I thought, you know what? because that was after my second treatment centre. I went to a treatment centre up in the Midlands, and I was a self-pity victim in that centre, and life really handed me a shitty card. But I didn't know that I did all the stuff. I was the creator of my own destiny. I made all the shit for myself. I didn't realize that I was still in denial, and I manipulated the psychiatrist, got every tranquilizer I wanted. It was a joy for me. I took my neck brace off and I raced horses up a hill. And I didn't realize the consequences if I fell off that horse. I thought it was a big joke because I was doing the stunts again, you know. And people were like, Tarryn, you play with your life, you know. And I was like, I didn't see it. And I was like, stop being such a drama, you know. And then, yeah, I got out of treatments. I went, when I was in Durban, back from the relationship thing. I was empty, I was broken, I did the substance. I thought, you know what, I'm not drinking, but I'm doing this behind everyone's back and I'll get away with it because I don't look that bad. When I take the substance, I'm confident, I've got an answer for everything, and I can deal. This substance is cool. And this substance brought me to my knees, and alcohol as well. It stopped working. The prescription meds stopped working. I went to a variety of psychiatrists after that. I had a page of medication, and eventually everything stopped working, and I was brought to my rock bottom. And the thing that pissed me off is when I watched other people in groups having fun. In the morning, when my brother was busy running, and I was coming home from the frickin' jaw at 5:45 in the morning, I was, you know, when the drugs stop wearing off and the birds come up and you're like, why are these birds? They're so annoying, the birds. Can't you just shut up? Making my hangover worse. And like I used to drive like this. I was such an idiot. My brother knows my car, but if you can't see my face, then you can't see me. I used to drive home like this because I knew my brother was running. And I lived in so much fear. Fear consumed me. I was in my room by myself and I couldn't sleep. I stared at my wall and I was like, can this just be over? I'll do anything. This drug has stopped working. The drugs that I'm on have stopped working. I was torn to my knees. And I used to lie in my bed and listen to my parents get up and be chirpy and happy. And I was like, I just want to be happy. I'll do anything, I promise you. And eventually I did it was like an impromptu step one almost, because I wrote down everything on a page. 8 pages later, I was high as a kite, but I was writing down my relationship with this drug and alcohol, and my life spiraled, and I'm trying to quit this, but I don't know how. And I can't undo what I've done, and I just was an epitome of guilt and a hole of shame. And I sat on my parents' bed and I said, here, I surrender. This is it. This is me. I've tried to kill myself. That doesn't work. The drugs don't work. The relationships don't work because I'm nervous. I shake from all the shit that I'm taking. And I'm just miserable. I don't want to live, but I can't die. And I'll do anything. If you tell me to climb that tree, I'll climb that tree for you. Please. And that's when I went to my third and final, hopefully, if it's God's plan, final treatment centre. And did life happen for me there? I was so scared because my brother's like, this centre is run by addicts. And I was like, you can't send me there. Those people are so violent. Again, I've seen those people on movies. Like, oh my God, they're going to kill me. Recovering alcoholics and addicts, are you serious? A bunch of old people sitting around a table drinking tea, bitching. You're going to send me there? Okay? In my arrogance, I was broken, but I was still arrogant about the centre I was going to because my entitlement was still there. I want a solution, but let me brief through the catalogue of solutions. I got to the centre and I lasted a week, and I was like, I said to my sponsor, I think I want to go back to the previous centre because this is nice, but it's a bit harsh. waking up in the morning, going for walks, I don't think it's going to do it for me. And my sponsor was like, "You're desperate, you'll do anything." And she gave me my reality. I had to trust her. Obviously, I walked in there high as a kite. I stopped at Shell and did my thing before I went to treatment, smashed a whole bag of the substance and half a bottle of vodka and a variety of prescription meds. So I walked in there, people thought I was brain damaged actually, because it took me a long time to respond. You would ask me a question and I'd be like, okay, what were you saying? So because of the suppressants and the uppers, my brain was doing this. And my sponsor said to me, if you want help, you'll ask, listen, and do as you're told. And I'm like, I'll do anything. And then, I was fussy still, and I had to be broken. I was in groups where they concerned me out of my socks. I was given, I was shown my truth. I was shown my reality. People told me my truth for the first time, and I fucking hated it. I was burning on the inside because I was like, this is not me. And who are these people? And eventually, it took me a while for things to start sinking in. And when I wrote my step 1, I was like, they're right. And I'm actually this person. And the penny started dropping. Before I came into the center, I went to a meeting and I was judgmental. I was high. I was waiting for my dealer. This meeting was taking a bit long. The chick that shared her life story, I was like, shame, she's screwed, but I'm not as bad as her. And I got a sponsor who was a friend of mine who was drunk. And I was like, can you be my sponsor? I had it all wrong. And until I got to the center, I was desperate for a solution, but I didn't know this was the solution. And so I got my truth, I got my reality. I had to write down a life story, and through my life story, I was a typical self-pity victim. Oh, look what I've been through. I barely made it through alive. And my sponsor and another counselor stripped me alive and said, no, that's not like that. And when I did my step 5, I realized all the stuff that I've gone through now. I realized my character defects. And I didn't even understand what's a character defect. And I realized that I was manipulative, dishonest. I was divisive. And it took me, my first reaction when people give me my reality is I'm like, oh, you're such a bitch. How can you say that about? But then I get angry, but then I have to take a step back. My sponsor said to me, she gave me my reality, and then she said, I don't want to talk to you, you've got to think about it. Until you've thought about it, you come speak to me. And it took a while for the penny to drop, and I'm so glad that it did. I'm so glad that I found this program. I'm so glad that I got blixemed in treatment center, because if I didn't, there were many times that I was supposed to leave, and people were saying to me before I went into the concern group, we're going to concern your ass off so you don't. And I was like, oh, you vindictive idiot. And they concerned me. And I was supposed to go away with my family. And I know now that if I went away, I would have relapsed. I'm glad I got concerned. I'm glad I chose recovery. I'm glad I listened. It was hard. I had some hard times. I was given consequences. The one consequence, I was not allowed to talk. I had to just sit there. If I coughed, I was kicked out the group. Big book, all the groups, people nailed me because I had a secret relationship with another person. The old me came out, like the first treatment center I told you about, where I got a girlfriend. When I did my life story, one of the counselors said to me, we haven't seen the real Tarryn yet. And I was like, you don't know me. She was right. They never saw the real Tarryn. Until I finished my 12 steps, I was commuting. I had a job that I was doing. I was helping people. My ego was like, I've arrived again. Hello, friend. And that's when this person took interest in me. I didn't shut her down, and I had a part. I was selfish. I didn't think about her recovery, and it was not soon after that the house found out. I was stripped of everything. I lost everything again. I lost obviously my job, my freedom of speech. I've got consequences from here to next week. And I thought in my rebellion, okay, cool, give me consequences. I'm going to be the best at these consequences. I'm going to be the best listener. I'm going to be the best at blitzing room 7 for a month by myself for 2 hours. I'm going to turn this around because I can't fight against this. There's no ways I'm doing pots like fuck that. You know, I was on tea station for 2 months anyway. My hands, need like tons of moisturizer. But anyway, that was my consequence. And I wasn't used to consequences, but when I had consequences, I grew the most. And I did special things for people without them knowing, and it was such a joy to just listen, actually. And some meetings I go to today, I practice that, what I've learned there, and I listen. And that's when I know, like, my higher power is saying to me, Tarryn, you're supposed to listen. If you get on your knees and you ask me for something in the morning, how am I going to show you if you're not listening? If you're too busy thinking about what you're going to share on and how I'm going to sound so profound on this passage of the book, that's all ego. It's not about ego. It's about what God wants for you. And it's so freeing to just surrender and say, look, I'm me, I'm human. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. And I did my steps the second time on relationships, and boy, did I learn so much. And eventually when I was supposed to leave, I didn't want to leave. I was like, oh, I can't go out there. I'm going to die. What if I relapse? What if I mess up? And my sponsor said to me, if you make mistakes, don't be a hostage of those mistakes. Learn from them, get the lesson, and move on, you know? And I learned that, and it was hard. You know, I dove back into this program. I did my meetings. I made my other counselor, who was part sponsoring me in a way, because she wanted to be a part of my recovery. She said to me, stick with the woman. Don't get into a relationship. Do your meetings. Every day I get on my knees. Every morning I thank God for another day. I do my readings in the morning. I do my step 11 at night. I get on my knees before bed. I am so, by working this daily reprieve, amazing stuff has happened in my life that I can't even explain how. There's been like moments in my life that I'm like, this is unreal. Am I actually doing this? There have been experiences that have blown my mind. And there have been experiences that have been particularly difficult. But I know as long as I follow this way, I have nothing to fear. As long as I go to meetings, as long as I fellowship with my mates, my family in recovery, you know, I've been able to pick up a new sport. I do triathlon, which scares the shit out of me every time I'm at the starting line of a race. But I hand it over to God, you know, and God's with me. I see God there. And the way that I get through those things, and the way that this power inside of me I can't explain to you, just by being there for others, helping others. I sponsor women. And it's such a joy to be part of this program. My mom, she wasn't in recovery when I got out, and that was hard because she was still in her active addiction. She came into recovery. That's a huge gift to me. I'm so grateful because she is now my chauffeur. And by the grace of God, she's almost 3 years. And we were debaucherous together. We were partners in crime. Like the episode, the sitcom Mom, that was my mom and I, except I didn't do stripping though. But that was us, you know, and it's such a blessing to be able to pay respect to my dad and be a responsible member of the family. And almost before this accident was about to become self-supporting and move into my next phase, but God had another plan, you know, and God I think God needed me to be at home to continue my amends with my family, which is what I'm doing. And when I'm ready to take that next step, it's God. You know, I had a whole lot of things planned. That's why I was swimming on the most calm day in the sea, because I had a race that weekend. But God had another plan, you know, and it's not about me. And throughout my journey in hospital and all of that, it was scary. I was there by myself for 11 days, and I had to hand it over to God. I serenity prayed the shit out of that time. Like, yes, it was scary for me because I was almost paralyzed. And there's been things in recovery that I've gone through that have horrified me. But I know that God will keep me alive because He needs me. I'm part of His plan. And there's this lovely reading that I want to read before I end this share. It's one of my favorite readings. It's a meme. And it goes, it's about acceptance. And that's what I've learned through recovery, you know. It says, accept, then act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Make it your friend and ally, not your enemy. This will miraculously transform your life. And that's what I had to do through a lot of my experiences. I have to accept what happened now. I have to let go of the past. And I have to stop stressing about the future because I know that God's got it. And I remembered that reading when I spoke to my surgeon and he said, Tarryn, you might be paralyzed. You might be in a wheelchair. But I'll do the best that I can. And I said, I trust you. And he was my higher power in that moment. And I had to say, I had to accept it. It was difficult. Being in ICU is cuck, especially with COVID and no visitors. And I made it through. And I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad. Gratitude. That's the best spiritual principle I've learned because it diffuses all my defects. I'm grateful. I'm alive. I don't have to, when I'm at home, I don't have to wash the dishes. I don't have to make food. I don't have to. That was my attitude and it was shit. I get to cook for my family. I get to wash the dishes and be of service. I get to sponsor women. I get to sit here. I'm not guaranteed this chair. Tomorrow I might not open my eyes. I'm not guaranteed another day. That's why I get on my knees every morning and thank God. Because in all my arrogance, I think I'm going to be alive till when? I don't know that for sure. So accept the moment, be gratitude. Be grateful for this very moment in which you are in. I'm grateful for just being here, you know. This pain is next level, but the joy that I get from being here and seeing all of you wonderful people, it's better than any other painkiller that I have. Even Schedule 6, morphine does nothing. This is my painkiller. This is my joy. This is such a privilege. So thank you very much for letting me be here and thank you for letting me share.